What is going on, everybody? It's been a really long time. It's been a long time since me and Ted did something together. I would say a couple months at least. And I got a really good one for you today. It's first in Ted, but I have a special guest, a coworker of mine, someone I know, fellow 49ers fan, fellow West Coaster, now Rochester, New York native. Uh, so we're just going to talk about training camp. We're going to talk about some of the off-season stuff that's been going around with the IU trade. You know, the Brock Purdy disrespect is in full force. Talk a little bit about the Netflix receiver review. We'll talk a little bit about that. And just whatever comes to mind as we get closer, ever so closer to training camp. But before we do that, I just want to say hello to everybody. What is going on, Ted?
Not too much, Aaron. Good to be back, and happy Friday, TGIF.
Yeah. Uh, James, I've known you for what, a year or two?
Yeah, about a year or two.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
I only recently found out that you came from the West Coast, from San Francisco.
yeah.
So if you would just tell everybody kind of your story of like your sports history, like what got you, like being a 49ers fan and then moving to to the Northeast.
So, growing up in San Francisco, I was born and raised at St. Luke's Hospital, right on, it was Army Street. Well, Cesar Chavez now, whatever you want to call it. I was born at St. Luke's, San Francisco. My mom and dad were huge Niners fans back then because, it was the early 90s, right after the 80s, all of the Super Bowls we won. And, I've been a fan since I was a baby. I have a picture of my mom holding me when I think it was the game Steve Young ran. I think it was a 66-yard touchdown against the Vikings. And I'm in the picture as a baby. So I've always been a huge fan. I went to the last game at Candlestick, and that was a blast. I really missed the Candlestick. I still haven't been to Levi Stadium, but one day I'll go. I'm definitely going to the Bills Niners game December 1st. But yeah, I'm happy to be on here because I've been a huge fan for my whole life. I miss San Francisco. I lived there for 26 years, and then I moved here about 5 years ago. My dad's from here, so that's why I moved here, and also because the houses are $2 million, so that doesn't make it any easier. But yeah, I remember getting off the T or the bus and walking to Candlestick through Hunters Point, and yeah, it was good times.
Oh, you're on mute, Aaron.
You're muted, Aaron.
Got the cat meowing in the background. I might need to let her out. But yeah, it's like it must be an awesome experience to be a West Coaster and be a 49ers fan. Being an East Coaster, I've always like it's I hear all these experiences. I mean, Ted went to training camp last year. He was there a good amount of days. He got to see, the quote unquote quarterback competition, but it really, in the end, we all knew who got the job. Never had a chance to go to the West Coast to watch a Niners game. Still undecided about the game in Buffalo. I was told to wait till the end to get a ticket because they say if you wait till the end, sometimes you can get some good deals. But yeah, I've been a Niners fan going on since 1989, 1990. So it's always nice when you find 49er fans in your hometown that you can kind of, because everybody's a Bills fan. James knows it's Bills country 100% out here.
Well, we do have a lot of Niners fans up here. I'm very surprised. When I moved here, I saw a lot of Niners fans.
When I used to go to the sports bars, I would find a good amount of people that were Niners fans. They were repping hard too. But yeah, it's been an interesting off season to say the least with this whole Brandon Ayuk thing. Still not resolved. He's still not signed. I'll leave you guys. I'm gonna let the cat out, but I'll start with Ted. What's your overall feeling about the way that the Niners have handled this Brandon Ayuk business? The Niners really tend to stretch things out until the last possible minute. But I feel like with the Ayuk situation, it's a little bit different. What's your feeling on just everything that's transpired? And do you think in the end he's going to be re-signed? And what do you think of a little bit of the Devontae Adams talk too? If you want to kick that in there while you're talking.
Sure. Yeah. So the Niners do tend to wait till late. I know Fred Warner wasn't signed till, I don't know, 3 weeks into July. Debo, like the last few days of July. And Bosa, not till September 6th, which is coincidentally my birthday. I think they were surprised, I think, by how much the wide receiver market went up with Amon-Ra getting 30 and Justin Jefferson getting 35. But, ultimately the 49ers have the leverage because Brandon Ayuk is set to play on his 5th-year deal this year. And if he doesn't play, then he'll play on his 5th-year deal next year, and if he wants to play hardball, we can not only play him on his 5th-year option, but we can franchise tag him after that if we decide we want to keep him. We can franchise him after that if we decide we want to keep him after that. So he's technically really under control for 3 years. Now I know the 49ers don't like to use the franchise tag, and they rarely have. I think Robbie Gould might have been the only time they ever used it. But nonetheless, it's an arrow that's in their quiver. It's a card in their hand. It's in their deck. It's something that they can resort to in negotiations at the very least, or maybe in real life. So I just think Brandon Ayuk is doing anything he can to kind of try to get some leverage on his end, and he's just taking all of the same plays out of Debo's playbook. Debo asked for a trade. Now Brandon's asked for a trade. I don't think it means anything. I think he still really wants to be a Niner. I think the Niners still really want him. I think he will get signed. I think if he does play hardball, he goes, oh, I want 35 like Justin Jefferson, or let's say 32, 33, like whatever his franchise tag number would be. I think that would be next year. I think the franchise tag is based off the top 3 from the year before. So like this year, I think it's 26 million. Is it 28? It's definitely not 32, 33, what it'll probably look like next year. And then that depends also on what CeeDee Lamb gets too. But ultimately, bottom line is if push came to shove and the Niners weren't going to pay him and they did decide they wanted to trade him and Devontae Adams is on the table, I bet your butt I'd take Tay over Ayuk. It's complicated to say that because I'm talking about this year to win a Super Bowl. I think Devontae Adams is a proven wide receiver 1. Not only that, he's been considered the best wide receiver 1 in the NFL. Not really that much recently, but the poor bastard had, Jimmy G and Aiden O'Connell throwing the ball last year. So that's going to make anybody look a lot worse. But, so like long term, I want Brandon Ayuk. He's young, he's theoretically, realistically going to have a lot more good years left in him than Devontae Adams, but I think Devontae Adams still has a couple, 2-3 years left in him for sure. And he's proven, and we all think, well, at least, Aaron and I have said we kind of think that Brandon Ayuk could be a wide receiver 1. And, him not being one yet is less of him not being able to be a wide receiver 1 as it is just him not having the opportunity. And will Kyle ever have a wide receiver 1? I don't know. He kind of did, obviously, with Julio Jones back in Atlanta. But with this setup where he has so many weapons, it behooves Kyle to kind of spread the ball around, keep defenses guessing, and make it to where you never really know where the ball is going to go. And so it makes it tough. But ultimately, bottom line is, yeah, I would take Devontae Adams for Brandon Ayuk for sure.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. If you had to ask me right now, short term, not long term, this window that we got, supposed Super Bowl window that might be closing soon. Yeah, I would take Devontae in a heartbeat just because he's proven he's a real number 1. And I've said this. Who was I with on stream? I don't personally think that Brandon Ayuk is worth the money of $35 million. He's a really good receiver, but is he $35 million a year?
That's a lot of money.
Good. I don't think he's 28.
Yeah,
I don't think he's 28 either. I think 20.
Jefferson too. It's like
ahead,
Jefferson and them. They've been proven wide receivers just as long as he has. But look at the stats they're putting up. He's getting better every year, Ayuk. He's proven that he's getting better. But he's not worth 35 yet. You know, he's getting there, but he's not worth it yet. You know, and
And how much was Ayuk getting better, and how much was just Purdy way better than Jimmy G?
exactly. Well, I'd rather have Purdy than Ayuk. I mean, if it came down to it, I'd rather keep Purdy than Ayuk. You know, Purdy can have, how many weapons do we have? We have,
yeah, no, that's the
least
thing.
5.
We've got embarrassment of riches. And if it came down to it, I would trade Ayuk for a really great right tackle or a really great center also.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yep.
It's a really weird offseason because this offseason isn't really the offseason that we got to pay attention to. It's next offseason. So say the Niners take Ayuk and they franchise him. Next year, Debo, there's a good chance he might be coming off the books, especially if Pearsall has a really good season. Because the Niners might say to themselves, man, this Pearsall kid's got it, right? And he, at least we don't think he's going to have a similar injury history than Debo. It's not starting off real well, but if that's the case, then they can move on. And, you know, me and Ted have always talked about how the Niners, in order for them to elongate a window of winning, you have to hit on draft picks. And what that allows you to do is it allows you to win and have cheap players at certain positions. The Niners have been lucky and have been afforded the opportunity to load up in other areas because the quarterback isn't being paid. But as we all know, next year, is it next off season that Purdy might be get paid, or is it the following off season?
I think it's next season.
Yeah, it's this off season.
Yeah. This coming off season, he's going to get paid.
Yeah.
So all this, you know, people talk about a Super Bowl window and how the Niners need to capitalize. I 100% agree with that. That's why last year was so hard to watch and so painful, is because this was the most, if you talk about golden opportunities, you know, it was a down Chiefs team. We were as good as we've been in a lot of areas on our team. Our quarterback play. Defense is a little sketchy down the stretch, especially in the playoffs with the run defense. But, you know, now you're going into an offseason where next year where Debo's probably off the books. Kittle probably stays, but you got to start looking down the road at certain players with age and injuries. So this season's crucial, at least for me, with Pearsall. If he can ascend and be something worth, someone worth Kyle's time, because Kyle, we all know, doesn't like rookies, right? He doghouses everybody and keeps the guys that he wants on the field, regardless of what we think. So hopefully Pearsall has a really good year, makes Debo expendable, and then allows us next season, depending on what season Ayuk has, to really go and pay him. That's what I think should happen, but I'm not a GM. I'm not Parag Marafe, whoever's in charge of contracts at this point.
Well, if he makes catches like he did in college, I mean, the grab of the year in NCAA, he'll be a great wide receiver. You know, he can do it. He's shown that, you know, and I think he's a steal. But yeah, like most wide receivers, star wide receivers we've had, it's all injuries. You know, I'll go back to Crabtree. Back to the Ayuk subject. Crabtree did the same thing, but even worse back then. He said he was going to go to the Seahawks back then. He said he'd rather go to the Seahawks, but that became a huge rumor, and we still don't know if that was a real thing. Now that's going to the arch rival back then, and he wanted that money that bad that he said that, or supposedly said that. So, you know, and Ayuk's maybe goes to the Steelers. What are you going to do with the Steelers? They're not going to the Super Bowl. So really, where does he want to go? He wants to come back, because you're not going to get anywhere closer to the Super Bowl with any of these teams they're talking about. I mean, they said Pittsburgh, and what was the other team? I think it was
the Raiders.
The Raiders, yeah. Okay.
I'm trying to think of another team. The Patriots, I think, was another team that was
an
involved.
obvious team would be the Bills, because they lost Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis.
Yeah,
but I don't know that they're financially in a place to sign a big name like Brandon.
Right.
But from a need perspective, they definitely need him.
Steve-O says, I have a question nobody has mentioned.
Steve-O Supremo. I was going to mention also that I'm less worried about the financials yeah, we'll pay Brock this off season, but it'll be backloaded and it probably won't hurt us for at least a year. So I think our window is probably more like 2 years financially. I'm just more worried, you mentioned kind of, Aaron, about age. I just think a lot of these guys are going to age out regardless if you can pay them or not. I just don't think they're going to be the same player. Especially, Trent Williams worries me. Kittle, Fred Warner starting to get older. They're all those big three for sure. Even Christian McCaffrey, he's got a lot of miles on him. He had an amazing season of not getting injured much last year, but or at least not missing much due to injury. And he definitely, a couple years before he came to us, had some injury issues. So
a lot of people mention the fact that the Niners have had a lot of long seasons recently, a lot of long seasons, long playoff runs, and that you couple that with the fact of how we play physically on offense and defense, it takes its toll. And yeah, you're right. There's some guys coming up on some age. I mean, Kittle is not old per se, but the way he treats his body, his age is a lot more of a factor. Same thing with Debo. Same thing with Christian McCaffrey. You look at their age and like, oh, they got a couple, 2, 3, maybe good 3 solid years left. But then you look at the fact that they play so physical, and it worries me. And that's why, when they talk about Super Bowl windows and people get all hot and bothered by it, it's just, you have to look at the roster, the way it's currently constructed, the financials, people's age, the way that they play, the length of seasons. That's why if they made a move, people say, oh, would you trade Devontae for Brandon Ayuk in the short term with the quote unquote window closing? Yeah, I would make that move in a heartbeat, because I think he's just he's probably the best receiver in the National Football League, and he's just been in a really bad situation. But like you said, I don't know if the Niners even use him the way that we want him to, because our offense is a run-based offense, and in our offense, Ayuk's what, fourth option behind Kittle, Christian McCaffrey, and Debo. So I don't know. The Niners probably have a money or a contract number that they're set at based on how they use him, based on how they view him. And I don't think the Niners are going to come off of that. If they come off, I could see maybe something about 27, 28 million, but they're not going to breach 30 million with him. I just don't see it.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing about Adams is this is why he's a number one. He is a jump baller too. We haven't had a guy that can jump up for the ball in the back of the end zone like him in a long time, if we've had any, in a long time. That's one thing I take from Davante Adams. He's that guy that's going to go up and get the ball, and he has hands. He can catch anything. I'm not saying he's 10 times better than Ayuk, but he's definitely a lot better when it comes to that. He's a bigger guy. Juwan Jennings is our big guy, but he's not. He'll make big catches, but we haven't had a number one like that makes those huge grabs and just throws people to the ground.
Yep.
So that's another. I don't know. I'd take Devontae too. I'm not saying I don't want Ayuk, but Adams is definitely an addition.
Adams is an upper echelon player to me.
Mm-hmm.
Ayuk's really good.
Top 5.
Yeah, but that's like a top 5 player in the National Football League if he has a good quarterback. He's just that good of a receiver. You're right. The Niners don't have that quote unquote size in their receiving core. Juwan Jennings has size, but he's really slow.
Mm-hmm.
He's really slow. Davante Adams, for his size, can get separation downfield. And the Niners are not a big throw downfield type of team, but I would assume if they had him in the offense that they would at least, try to go downfield, but they just don't have those kind of guys. Debo, he's great. He's kind of a, little character, or a little, what do you call it? He's a little toy that you can use and you move him around. You can do different things with him, but he's not a downfield receiving threat. He's too small. He's not really good as far as like running actual routes. They got to move him around a lot. Yeah, you bring Devontae in, right away becomes the best player on the field offensively next to Christian McCaffrey. But like Ted said, I don't think it's happening. I think it's all semantics. And at the end, whether it's after training camp or right as training camp starts. I think Brandon Ayuk and the 49ers come to some sort of agreement. But let's move on. I don't know if anybody pays attention to Twitter or the media or anything, but it's they're doing their rankings right now on ESPN and all those other networks, and sure enough, Brock Purdy's getting no respect whatsoever. He's not rated as a top 10 QB. It's just people look at him as a game manager or a guy that is only good because of the weapons that he has, and maybe partly true, but he's not getting any respect whatsoever.
Where are they getting this from? Cam Newton? Come on.
No, it's ESPN. Whatever. I don't even know who does the race.
Come on.
Well, Cam Newton hates. According to Cam Newton, he could still play, but I don't know about that. But Ted, what's your thoughts on the? I'll put it this way: Ted last year was very not quick to give Purdy his flowers. He needed to be proven right, and through the course of the season, even though Ted had reservations, he gave the guy his flowers. I wanted to know how you feel going into this season with the healthy offseason. If you're kind of still in the same headspace, or are you kind of being moved by the media and you're starting to kind of question if Purdy even has it still?
No, I like you said, I was hesitant. I was a hater. I called him mid.
You did call him mid, and I was very angry about that.
A lot of people got really mad at me about it. And he slowly but surely throughout the season worked his way up and up and up. I had him definitely top 5 by the end of the season, or at least at some point near the end of the season. I think, 5 to 8, maybe 9. I mean, definitely in the top 10. I don't think you could put Jared Goff ahead of him. Dak Prescott's questionable to me.
They have Stroud already ahead of him.
I like CJ Stroud. I mean, I would take CJ Stroud over Brock Purdy. So but I don't know that he's should be ranked ahead of him. You know what I mean? That's more like how well he did as a rookie and how well I think he's going to do and his physical tools and just everything in that equation. I'd take CJ Stroud over Brock Purdy. But I mean, I think as of last year, Brock Purdy, I guess also you got to take Stroud's weapons into consideration. Certainly Tank Dell and, Nico Collins are not, BA and Ayuk and Kittle and CMC. So bottom line is, I could see why they left him out. But yeah, I think it's a little bit harsh. I think it'll be a good chip on his shoulder. I think he'll continue to improve. This is his first offseason full offseason as a starter. Because last year he was the starter, but he obviously didn't have a full offseason rehabbing from the UCL surgery. So I'm expecting at least a moderate improvement out of Brock Purdy. I don't think it'll be like a big leap like we saw last year, but last year it was just man, he was throwing the dimes deep and he was breaking off big runs. And basically by the NFC Championship game, the sort of long and short of it for me was he was doing everything that I thought only Trey Lance could do for us, which was force 2 high safeties, one out of the box, back deep, and then one of the guys left in the box spying him to try and keep him from running. And that's basically makes it 10 on 9. Your 10 offensive players against 9 defenders because one is extra back out of the box and one in the box is distracted. And so that's everything I kind of hope for in a QB. So yeah, I'm happy with him last year. I do think he might fall to earth a little bit on that long ball consistency just because I just saw today somewhere PFF rated him 99 on deep balls or something crazy like that. And that just doesn't seem sustainable, especially because I have doubts. My biggest doubts with Brock are with wet ball and maybe in the wind.
Yep. Same.
But, otherwise he's a hell of a quarterback. He throws with anticipation. Brent Jones was on East Coast Red and Gold last night, and he was saying that he really sees a lot of Joe Montana and Brock Purdy is unflappable, never gets flustered, throws with anticipation.
He's accurate.
Accurate, yeah.
Very cool and collect. You know,
If anybody hasn't watched that episode, go back and watch East Coast Road and Golf from last night. It was a great show.
I can't believe they had Brendan Jones on there. That was awesome.
Yeah,
I didn't watch it.
Turns out when he was at Santa Clara, he was actually a Cowboys fan.
wow.
Or maybe it was before Santa Clara, because this is like when the catch happened, he got grief because he was rooting for the Cowboys. Well, essentially, he liked the Niners, but he'd been watching the Cowboys, and I had a kind of a similar experience. I mean, as far as watching the Cowboys when the Niners were out of it every year, 76 to 80. And my dad's from Dallas, and so I definitely rooted for the Cowboys in the postseason, but not when it came to the catch. I was just, would have rather it was a different team besides the Cowboys. I definitely didn't hate the Cowboys at that point. It took till the 90s till I really hated them.
Yeah.
Or I hit James up. I just want to say hello to my lady who's in here, Jupiter. It's been a while. She says, hello, handsome. And then she said hello to Ted and James. I told her about
Hello.
James. I said a coworker of mine and me and Ted are going to try to do some Niners talk tonight. So she said she'd come through, and she did. So thank you very much, babe, for coming through. Appreciate the support. Sorry I don't sound like woohoo. I'm just I haven't streamed in a while. I'm still nervous. James, your thoughts on the Purdy stuff? I mean, are you of the mindset of like, yeah, let them talk? Or are you pissed off and want to bang the table when people come disrespecting Brock Purdy?
I'm pissed off, but at the same time, I'm used to it. It's like we've been hated on by ESPN, especially Joe Buck, and all these like commentators that have hated San Francisco for so long because we've been good for so long. And and that's why we have haters, is because we're always good. And when we're not, we still have haters. And Purdy, okay, I'm a Purdy guy. This is why. Because this kid, everybody forgets he was the last pick in the draft. Nobody wanted him. Nobody. And he comes out of nowhere, he gets his chance, and he shined. He completely shined. Against the Bucks, against all these teams that were, playoff contention teams. And he is not a huge guy, and he showed off like he was a huge guy. I mean, I'm looking at this list right now on my phone, and I see, Justin Herbert. Okay, great. He throws 4,500 yards a season or whatever. Can that guy, run around a defensive end like Purdy does and throw the ball on the other side of the field? No, he really can. He hasn't shown that, And CJ Stroud, I mean, yes, he had a great season last year, but he was a rookie. Purdy's in his this is his third year. And he's shown his first 2 years that he's a great quarterback. So why does a guy in his second year get on the list versus Purdy, who's in his third year and has proven that he's done it for 2 years? I mean, he got us to the freaking Super Bowl.
Yep.
If Stroud got his team to the Super Bowl, okay, you got to, he should be on the list. Aaron Rodgers, yeah, he's got a Super Bowl. Jared Goff, he's been a great quarterback for a long time. I see him. Dak, no, I don't think he should be top.
I think Purdy's ahead of Dak, and it's not even.
All my Cowboys friends at Wegmans, all of them.
Yeah.
I told them 3 quarterbacks of ours have beaten you. Jimmy G, 3. Yeah, it's 3. Jimmy G, Purdy, and what's the other one?
Trey Lance?
Or no, was it Kaepernick? Did Kaepernick beat him? I think Kaepernick did.
Back in the day, that was back in like 2014, I think, or 2013, towards the end of the Harbaugh run. Yeah, we did beat Dallas in Dallas.
Did beat them. So 3 of our quarterbacks, not only Purdy, have beaten them with this team. So it's like, okay, Dak's great, I guess. But
he puts up a lot of yards, a lot of statistics.
It's all about that. That's all it's about now. It's yards and season stats. It's not about, the big plays they make, and I agree with Ted. I don't think he's going to sustain all the stats that he did this year. I mean, it's just crazy if he does, but he's still, I think he should be at least number 9 or 10. He should be on there. Stroud shouldn't be on there. Herbert shouldn't be on there. I take those 2 guys off. I put probably Purdy, and I'm trying to think of another quarterback that could be on there. But, I mean, even there could be another quarterback on there. But, yeah, he definitely needs to be on there. It's It's getting old.
Or Jordan Love ahead of him too, which I think is funny. Because Jordan Love, up until the second half of last season, a lot of people considered him, maybe not the guy.
Yeah.
And then he had a really good second half of the season and playoff run, and then all of a sudden he's everybody's favorite to win the MVP. What it comes down to Purdy is size, size and arm strength. He's small, doesn't have giant hands, doesn't have a huge arm. So he's always going to get knocked for that, regardless of how good he does. And of course, they're going to say it's all the weapons. A lot of people made a comparison. I've been seeing the comparison to the quarterback of the Bengals, Joe Burrow. They're like, I mean, how different really are they? I mean, look at the weapons that he has in Cincinnati. And then you compare it to the 49ers. Is Joe Burrow that much better than Brock Purdy, considering the situation that he's in right now with, Jamar Chase and all those guys that he has down there? And it made me think, but listen, I really don't care. I want the Niners to win, get another shot at the Super Bowl and possibly win it. I could care less where Purdy's ranked. I could care less if the media disrespects him, because at the end of the day, games still need to be played and plays need to be made. And I think he's very capable of doing that. So, yeah, it's irritating and it's kind of frustrating, but it gives us stuff to talk about on YouTube. So I'll go with it.
As far as Joe Burrow goes,
mm-hmm.
I would just say Mixon is no CMC, and whoever their tight end is no kill. They got great receivers, but as a weapons group, our weapons are definitely better. And I was there when we played them at Levi's last year, and Joe Burrow was on fire.
He sliced us up.
He looked a lot better than Brock Purdy. Now, I will give Brock Purdy kind of get out of jail free, whatever you want to call it, absolve him of some blame, because it was only 6 days after he got his concussion in Minnesota. And I don't think he should have even been playing in that game personally. I couldn't believe he was cleared to play, and he got
his bell rung during
in that game too. And but he had already made a lot of mistakes in the game before he hit his head again in that game. So, bottom line is in the head-to-head, it was not close. Like, Joe Burrow was way better than Brock Purdy. And I think we have a better defense, and I think we have better weapons. I don't know if our defense was better that day. Ultimately, I don't think it's that close.
Okay.
I think Burrow is a little better.
Okay. I think they have something that's similar. They both have that Joe Cool. That's what they have. They both have that. Everybody was comparing Joe Burrow to Joe Montana when he first started. Now they're doing Purdy to Joe Montana. They got a lot of similar things.
Burrow definitely has that cool, calm, collected. He does remind me a lot. He reminds me of Joe Montana, but with way bigger drip.
Yeah,
like the way he dresses.
Yeah.
But Joe, I don't know. Did you guys? Because I want to talk a little bit about the Netflix series. I know, James, you didn't see it. I think, Ted, you saw it. The Receiver Netflix series. Have you watched it?
I haven't seen it, no.
Oh, my Lord. Okay, well, there's a clip in there.
All I have to do is tell my wife it's the #1 show on TV, and I guarantee you we'll be watching it that night.
Yeah. So, it is. It's really good.
Maybe tonight's the night, fellas. Especially if my older son is with my folks tonight, so we have a little dinner date going. So
nice.
Schmooze are well during the date. Maybe I can work some receiver tonight. We'll see.
There you go.
There's a clip in there where I think it's the NFC Championship game or the divisional. I forget which one. Montana standing on the sideline, and I think it's Debo that says to him, or Kittle, "You look really good." And he's like, "I always look good." I was just like, "Wow, yo,
humble too."
He's so humble. Yeah. No, I love that. I was like, "That's awesome," because he does. He looks. I mean, he's really skinny and old, and he looks pretty broken down, but he's still, he's still Montana. He's still Joe Montana. He's my favorite 49er player ever.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
He's still successful too. I mean, I read a whole thing in the Chronicle, SF Chronicle, about his life, and he runs a huge tech company, and he's making a lot of money. And it said something about his wife. Whenever his wife walked into a room, he was a whole different person. He was like more, not timid, but he was more down to earth, and he wasn't like you know, he was still Joe Cool, but like that, there's his love of his life, you know. And I thought that was pretty cool that, you know, she came in the room and he was a different person. And I'll go back to the catch before that play happened. I don't know if you guys probably know what happened, but he went, "Oh, look at that." I think he was pointing at a girl or something in the stands, and I think he was pointing at I don't know who it was, but I forgot. But he was pointing at something in the stands, and this is before the biggest play probably in NFL history. You know, the catch, and this guy's just pointing up in the stands like nothing.
John Candy.
It was John Candy.
Oh, that was in
That's
Super
what it
Bowl
was.
23.
Yeah.
That was the
Oh,
one
okay.
against the
Maybe
Bengals.
not
Okay.
before the
Oh, it was
catch.
against the Bengals. I thought that
Yeah.
was before the catch. Well, he did something before the catch too, but
Oh, okay.
yeah.
He might have been pointing to a celebrity woman that was in the crowd during
Yeah.
the catch game.
But that's how he was. He just didn't care. He's gonna win that game no matter what. He didn't care.
He always said that you get paid to throw the ball. That's what I watched him interview one time. He's like, why be nervous? You're getting paid to do. You're getting to do what you get paid for. It didn't like what time of the game it was. Really, never bothered him. I don't know if you remember the clip, Ted, against the Giants in '88. Montana was in and out of that game, and Steve Young was playing, and Montana came in and threw that perfect strike down the right sideline to Jerry Rice to win the game against the Giants in New York. Man, when I watch stuff like that, you know, a lot of people forget because it's been so long. Montana's greatness, and like even myself, you know, I kind of give in to the fact that you know Brady's the GOAT or whatever, but Joe Montana was damn good. He was really good quarterback, and I think people like sleep on it because it's a different era of football. But
because he wasn't protected. That's why he got pile driven into the ground after every play.
And he wasn't a big guy, so
people
of course
took
he
receivers' heads off over the middle.
Yeah,
it was a
different
totally
era.
Different game. If
Totally
Joe Montana had those same protections, he would have won 7 Super Bowls too.
Yep, easily.
So you guys haven't watched the receiver thing. I'll put it to you like this. Watching it, the first couple episodes when it's during the regular season and everything, it's pretty fun to watch. It's pretty cool to watch. But that last episode, or close to that last episode, when they go into the playoffs and the Niners have those great comebacks, again, in those 2 games against the Lions and against, did they play the Packers in the divisional round, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Those are great, right? But in the pit of my stomach, I knew it was coming. And sure enough, the end of it with the loss, the Super Bowl, I tweeted this on Twitter. I said, it broke my heart all over again. Bro, that was hard to watch.
Yeah.
That was super hard to watch. So all I'm saying is enjoy it. But the last episode, be ready to either have some antacid ready to chew on or a piece of, what do you call tissue to wipe your eyes? Because I mean, I was pretty bummed after watching the end of it. I was like, man, I didn't really want to watch it because I knew it was coming, and it was just as bad as I remembered it. The fact that you have Kittle's wife in the stands saying like, I got to get the hell out of here. I can't watch this shit. She was so depressed, and it was tough. It was tough to watch. So,
well, thanks for the spoiler, man.
Yeah. Thanks for the ending.
Sorry. Let's talk. We're coming up on the 10-year anniversary of Levi Stadium this year. I don't know if you guys realize that. The Niners have been in Levi a decade.
I actually did, because the pennant says 2013. The last.
The one from the pick at the stick. Yeah. 2000. Remember when they opened the stadium? Remember they had like the press conference and like Jim Harbaugh was like in his normal coaching get up with like cleats on and stuff.
Yeah.
Remember we got shellacked. I think in the preseason by the Chargers, and then in the regular season opener against the Bears, I was at both, and it was disgusting.
Yeah.
Both of them.
I worked at a warehouse at that time, and we were sending products to build Levi Stadium, and we were sending these huge pipes and stuff. It was an electrical warehouse, and I remember I worked in I worked in Bayview, but near Hunters Point. And a lot of people were mad. They were just so mad. They're like, man, I've been going to games my whole life, and they're moving all the way to Santa Clara. This is stupid, blah, blah, blah. And I was mad too. I was very mad because it wasn't going to be actually in the city anymore.
Right.
You know?
I was mad at Gavin Newsom.
Yeah.
Well, that stadium itself was built for the Bay.
Yeah.
The way it's constructed, essentially, he's gotten a lot better, and I give him a lot more credit. But Jed York, I hated him for a long time.
Oh,
I really did not like him.
We had fire the owner T-shirts, and
yeah, people flying over, but he essentially just said, "Okay, we're gonna copy and paste a stadium that was meant to be in the Bay, with the water and everything, kind of like where the Giants play." And that's why that stadium has that open end, right, where the steps are, and you can kind of see out. And then they moved it down to Santa Clara, and they didn't make any adjustments to it. It's in a flight path, so even if they wanted to for the sun, they can't put a roof on that place because there's airplanes running it over all the time. So if the Niners weren't winning right now, I think a lot of more people would still be kind of pissed off about Levi's more than they are. But Niners have had a lot of success there. They haven't won the Super Bowl, but they've had a lot of playoff success. They haven't lost a playoff game in Levi's. So say what you want about the stadium and where it's at. We'll keep the stadium.
Yeah.
And the vibe there, it gets better every year.
Yeah.
I will say it's definitely, I'm not going to say it's Candlestick, but it's a lot closer than it used to be. That's for sure.
Yeah. And E40, the big, the rapper and 49er fan, he even said in one of his songs, he said, it's starting to feel like Candlestick at Levi's now,
It's getting pretty close.
If they win a championship, that stadium's going to be legendary, man.
It will.
If the Niners can just find to get their head out of their ass in the playoffs.
Year, I swear to God, it better be this year.
I feel like it's either going to be this year or next year. I feel like the Niners are going to get to a point like the Eagles with Andy Reid or something. Like, we're just going to give up on them, and then they're going to have like a really so-so season, but they'll have like a really huge playoff run and win it. It's like when they're supposed to win it, they don't win it. So now I'm just going to have like really low expectations, have them start like 6-6 or something, and then have this like amazing second half to the season. Because like last year was the perfect setup, right? We had the perfect setup. We were a better team than the Chiefs, but Niners defense at the end of that Super Bowl couldn't stop a freaking nosebleed. The reason the Niners lost that Super Bowl is because of their defense, straight up. I think the Greenlaw injury was a massive problem. And then also you put on top of that the fact that the offensive line, if they block on that, throw into the end zone by Purdy, Niners go up by a touchdown and might not, might have
the Feliciano injury.
The Feliciano injury. Yeah. Greenlaw getting hurt, celebrating. Like, are you serious?
Upstate New York should know him. He played in Buffalo for a while before he went to the Giants and then to us. So
yeah. Greenlaw was the real kicker though, because the minute he was out, Kelsey was wide open.
Yep.
And Mahomes was running all over the place. He was not running before Dre Greenlaw went out. He was definitely afraid to get smacked.
There was a couple plays in the beginning of that game where the Niners were thumping the Chiefs.
Yeah.
Like, it was crisp. Those hits were crisp. As soon as Greenlaw went out of that game, you had what? Orrin Burks was covering him.
Yeah.
Was it Orrin Burks that was covering Kelsey?
Yeah. And he looked so confused. He didn't know what he was doing.
Yeah, he didn't know whether to crap or wind his watch.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Let's look at I don't have a ton of stuff here. Let's talk a little bit. I know we touched on it, but the Pearsall injury, you concerned, Ted? They say it's not a big deal.
Matt Barrow said it's not serious. I don't know. I mean, I was looking for like an update, but I saw John. Blanking on his name. He's a big guy. He works with Wayne Breezy. John Chapman.
Chapman, yeah.
He said all the Niners are going to be in camp next week. All the Niners players are going to camp. Like, drop your response like in a GIF form. So I'm assuming that means that Pearsall is going to be there next week. I don't know, but I haven't seen any like formal update that said that. I don't know if you guys have seen anything, but ultimately, like, yeah, I mean, if Matt Barrow says it's not serious, then I trust that it's not serious. But there's a big difference between, serious and out for a couple of weeks, so I don't know when he'll be back. I'm dying to know what the injury is. Anytime it's a non-football injury, I'm always like, well, what the hell did he do? You know,
What do
is
you
it
do? Fall down a flight of
hernia?
stairs, or
Is it mental? Is it, basketball? All these guys hurt themselves playing hoops. I remember a while back, James, I'm sure will remember this because he's got that Giants banner back there. So he's a San Francisco Giants fan, but Madison Bumgarner injured himself during the off season, like riding motocross, dirt bike.
Yeah.
I'm dying to know what it is. Like, not only how bad and what it is, but how do you do it? What'd you do, man?
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not too worried about it. No, not
worried. Speaking of non-football injuries, part of that receiver thing, Justin Jefferson, I guess, during the season had hoof and mouth. Was it hoof and mouth? Was it him or the guy from the Amon St. Brown? One of them got hoof and mouth disease during the season, and he had blisters on his hands, his feet, face, and like he had to play with his face wrapped up, and like his hands were burning, his feet were burning the whole game. So, like I said, you said, it could be anything. Who knows? Maybe he's got chicken pox or something right now. He can't make it out there. Maybe he slipped on a piece of glass. I hope it's nothing serious. I hope it's not mental health. There's one guy that understands that as me, so hopefully it's not that. Really, we talked Ayuk, we talked Netflix series, we talked Brock Purdy. I guess the real question now is just we'll get out of here after this, but I'll start with James. What's your thoughts for training camp, man? Like, what are you looking to see? Any positions, any players that you're excited to get a chance? Because I know we're not there, but they have reports every day on the internet. So anything you're specifically interested in?
I'm looking, so I've been looking at Instagram, and the new safety we drafted, this guy looks like an animal. I mean, he looks just insane. And I'm looking at the safety position. I'm looking at our cornerbacks, because our defense last year, I mean, everybody knows our defense wasn't as good as it should have been, and that's really what I'm looking at, is who's these new guys that are coming up. We got Hargrave still. We still got, but we got rid of Armstead. So what's going to happen there? Armstead's gone, and he was a huge 4th and 1 guy. He was our guy that stopped those big 4th and 1s, and
especially against the Green Bay Packers against Jordan Love. It was Eric Armstead who did that.
Yeah. He always was in the middle. So I'm looking at that.
Never mind.
It's Mustafa. It's Mustafa. I think that's his name. The safety.
Yeah.
And that guy, it looks like an animal. I mean, he is shredded, and he looks good. And then we got that cornerback. I'm blanking on his name, but we got cornerback.
Bernardo Green.
Yeah, and we need to have a good backfield. That's really where everybody's got us last year, was our backfield. Big plays. Chardavius Ward is great. I think nothing needs to change about that guy. He's swatting balls, intercepting. He does everything we need him to do. But it's really, I think it's going to be the defensive tackle, the second defensive tackle, the interior I'm going to look for, and, the safeties and cornerbacks. Linebackers, I mean, we got 3, well, now 4 basically. We got Warner, we got Greenlaw when he gets back, and we got Campbell. I mean, that's 3, and then we got good backups.
Yeah, so we have Jalen Graham.
Yeah, Jalen Graham.
We drafted last year. We have D. Winters.
Yeah, D. Winters.
Who was drafted. I want to see a progression from D. Winters if he could, because you got to think about it. Like Ted said, guys are getting older, right? So how do you replace guys that are getting older? Well, you draft really well.
Yeah.
So I would love to see the ascension of Jalen Graham and D. Winters.
Devondre
Campbell, I'm not super high, but I'm not down on him. I know he had a bad year last year. He had a really good year in 2021. The Niners are really going to miss Dre Greenlaw. I'm telling you right now, it's going to be bad. My whole thing is defensive tackle. I know we brought in Malik
Collins.
Malik Collins, and I forget the other guy.
Jordan Elliott.
Yeah. So Malik Collins, Jordan Elliott, and then we brought in former Leonard Floyd, the pass rusher, formerly of the Rams and the Bills. Pretty solid guy, 10 sack a year guy, is always playing. He's not hurt ever. And then we have the trying to think of the other guy's name. The other pass rusher. I know you know who it is, Ted.
Gross Matos.
Yep.
Yes.
Header.
Yeah, the Niners have essentially revamped their defensive line a little bit, so that'll be interesting. For me, it's Purdy coming into a healthy offseason or coming into training camp healthy. There's no question at quarterback, Ted. For the first time in like ages, there's no question. It is Brock Purdy's team. And yeah, that's kind of nice. Because how many years in a row with Jimmy and Trey Lance and that whole, circle jerk did we have to worry about constantly not knowing who our quarterback was going to be? That's definitely something. Ted, what are your thoughts?
I like Devondre Campbell. Yeah, he's definitely not, Dre Greenlaw, but Dre Greenlaw may never be Dre Greenlaw again.
I know.
Probably won't be this year. So I like Devondre Campbell. I'm pretty bullish on him. I'm really hoping that Logan Thomas shows out at tight end. I really want to see our offense with two tight ends who can both block and catch. I think that could help our offensive line because you all know I was very disappointed that we didn't draft a tackle in our O-line. I just don't like McKivitz. I don't think he's the answer, even at a good price. I just would rather pay more and get a better guy. So as far as the Niners overall, I think we'll contend again. If they could very well see us get back to the Super Bowl again. I don't think there's anyone in the NFC that looks better than us. But, as far as beating the Chiefs or whoever makes it from the AFC, I just kind of think, I got to change my stance and just say that we will not win until we do. I'm going to say we won't.
My whole thing is I totally forgot about Logan Ryan or Logan Thomas. Mm-hmm. So that's interesting. We haven't had a good number 2 tight end ever since Kittle's been here.
And Warner and
Dwelly.
Jordan Reed a little bit, but he was injured when Kittle was healthy, and Kittle was injured when Jordan.
And those two guys forever, it seems like.
Yeah.
Since Delaney Walker almost.
Oh yeah, I missed Delaney.
But Delaney Walker
and VD
and Vernon Davis both had stone hands at times.
Yeah. Yeah.
You watch some old games where they would just clank, and I'm just like, how? They're both so ripped. I don't know if they just their biceps stop their hands from coming up or something. I don't know.
They couldn't reach the
ball. I'm looking at offensive line too. I mean, I was talking. It's funny that you said that, Ted. Jared, my brother Jared, everybody knows I talk about all the time. He's a Dolphins fan, right? His biggest issue last year with the Dolphins was offensive line as well. And I told him, I was like, neither of our teams emphasize offensive line. They emphasize ball carriers, right? Playmakers. And they fail to realize is if your offensive line can't block, you can't get it to your playmakers. But they're stubborn the way they build their teams. They build their teams very similar. It's all about running backs and these scat wide receivers, these super skinny but yet super fast wide receivers. But their offensive line is always the issue. And I think my biggest fear again is another long season, a playoff run, and then getting into a big game and having our offensive line play like trash again.
Yeah.
And that's my biggest fear. You're right. I don't know how we didn't even touch offensive tackle in the draft. I mean, did they even draft a tackle in the draft at all? They drafted
a guard. They got
a guard in the draft, but we didn't draft a tackle. But
I
don't know, man.
Backup for Trent Williams. I mean, come on. The guy's going to retire.
I mean, he's trying to get a contract extension from what I've heard.
Yeah, but
I don't think that's
the contract. Just more money.
He should retire after this year. I mean, come on. How old is he? 35, 36?
I think he's 37.
37? Yeah, even worse.
Leon Sandcastle says, I hope they sign Gibson to the practice squad. He can't play on the suspension, but he can still practice. He'd be mentoring the young guys and be an emergency safety later in the year. Yeah, that was the question some of us had is Gibson going to retire? Apparently he was going to play this year until he got suspended. So,
yeah.
Training camp for me, it's just injuries. I hope we avoid big injuries. Purdy, yeah, that's the guy. Thank you. He played tackle in college. Me and Bashar talked about that. I like how the Niners, they keep getting these tackles the guys who played tackles in college, but then they come to the 49ers and they automatically put them at guard because they're either their arms are too short or, whatever inabilities that they have. But for me, it's health. I just want to get through the preseason healthy. I really don't want us to play in any games in the preseason. Health. I think this team healthy can get right back to the championship game again. No question in my mind. I think the NFC is going to be tough this year. A lot of people are automatically picking the Lions to be a representative, possibly in the Super Bowl. I'd like to see them do it again. They have a really good team, but can they repeat their success? So right now, I'm excited. I think next week, we all might be doing maybe a training camp stream. I'm trying to get me, James, and then maybe a couple other people. I want to do like a collaboration of multiple people. We could just talk about training camp and whatever storylines are happening. But I'm definitely looking forward to training camp.
I'll be there every day, just like last year.
Oh, are you? Oh, you
Nice.
lucky duck.
That's awesome.
Yeah, well, there were 9 open camp practices this year. This year there's 10, and I don't know if I shouldn't say I'll be there. I have tickets to everyone, but I don't know if I can go on the weekends. So we'll see.
Are you going to hang out with the Cone Clique? Be part of that whole group?
No, Raj though, for sure. I told
that's my
Raj
guy.
if he can't find tickets on his own, that I've got one for him at face value for every day. So
That's awesome.
That's pretty cool.
Of course, I'll be paying attention to Raj and you, of course.
yeah.
I'll
That'll
be in
be fun.
California next year, but not this year.
You
Next
guys
year I'll be there.
have to fly out together for a game or something.
Yeah, that'd be sweet.
Yeah,
We should be decked out on the plane with all our 49er stuff, just like that.
absolutely.
Yeah, you'll be coming with the SF native, man. You'll be.
Hey, I
I
got a Faithful to the Bay jacket. I got the big puffy jacket.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful jacket, by the way. I'm just
I
going to
know,
say I
I'm-
bought my nephew one too.
Yep. I'm wearing mine December 1st in Buffalo at 8:20
Nice.
at night. It's gonna be.
Why are
freezing.
you going back? Are you moving back to the West Coast?
No. I visit every so often. My mom still lives in San Francisco, so
Awesome.
yeah.
I got these 2 West Coast guys here, and I'm freaking the East Coast guy who's never moved. I think the farthest I've ever got away from Rochester was Ohio. So I need to take it. I'm in the process of hopefully taking a trip down to Indiana for personal reasons. But
Hey, now.
other than that, I don't really want to go anywhere.
Get you on a plane, man.
Yeah.
Get you on a plane and get you in an NFL stadium. 2 things off the
You
plane.
That's the thing. As bad
All
as
at
I would love to
once.
go to Buffalo this year, as bad as I want to go to Buffalo this year to watch the game, I'd rather go to Santa Clara and watch the 49ers in a Niners stadium with a bunch of Niners fans. Instead of going to a
forward to it.
There'll be a
getting
bunch
beer.
in Buffalo.
But I'm going. I'm not looking forward to the freaking weather and all the trash talk, but I've been in worse. I think I went to no, I never went to Oakland, but
the best thing is, James, if the Niners win that game, it's a quiet ride home for Bills fans, and it'll be quiet in the stadium because, of course, there'll be a lot of drunk, angry people. That's going to be that way regardless, but at least it'll, yeah. So,
all right,
everybody, we're going to get out of here. Ted's got to get going. I'm going to make dinner for myself, but everybody take care. Hopefully I will see you next week with Ted back at our regular time as training camp starts. And me and James should have something going on next Friday as well. But I'll keep you guys in touch, and I'll let you guys know on my community tab what's up. So everybody, thanks for the support coming through.
Good.
Thanks for being here for us. It's been a while. I was a little nervous, but take care. We'll talk to you later. See ya.
Peace.